How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another Podwans Roundtable discussion. I am your host, Char J, joined by my co-host, Hereth Productions.
What's going on, everybody?
How is it going, everybody? Today, we're going to be discussing episode 7, Choice of the Acolyte. We have a lot to talk about, especially with the flashback and all the events that occurred within that flashback. But we got our reoccurring guest, and we got a duo coming on today to talk about this episode this week. Hereth, are we ready?
Of course.
Let's get into it.
The Emperor has foreseen a new threat rising against him. The Podwans Podcast.
Podwans Podcast. Shout out, Chris. But yes, we are live. We, of course, have our Acolyte newcomer. Well, not newcomer, our reoccurring buddy every single week. He is beneath me. He has children, as Luke likes to fantasize about for some reason. Nick, ND Wise Guy.
Hey guys, how's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. I'm not making any connections with Luke being weird, but he always mentions your children for some reason. I don't know if it's like a personal thing. I don't know. But Nick, yeah, it's good to see you as always. You'll be here next week, obviously. Yeah. I mean, you've been here every single week talking about the Acolyte with us. But we do have the Yap Sesh coming on here to talk about this week's episode. We have one half thus far. The other half will be joining us very shortly. But we have Brooke B. Dazzler.
Hi.
How you been, Brooke? I mean, it's been a while.
I've yeah, sorry, my mic is all fucked up. Anyway, yeah, I've been good. Just chilling. Just started a podcast and yapping a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching the spelling bee the other day. that was quite an event.
That was crazy. We had so many people watching, so many technical difficulties because I've never run something with that many people before. But it was really great and we raised a lot of money. So
good.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. That's so cool. There was like what, 20 people? 30 people?
We had 18 contestants and me and Sawyer as hosts, and then we had Jordan of previous Wikipedia fame. Not gonna get into that. But he was we collaborated with him to do he was our judge, and so I think we had like a mod or two. So there was like 25 people in that stream, and I'm still new to using StreamYard, and so I upgraded my membership thinking that it would give me more people in the stream, and then it still cut it off at like 12. And I was like, all right, now we have to pivot all of a sudden, and everybody go join this Discord call, and we'll let you know when you could come in. And because the one that you can add more than like 12 people is like $200 a month. And I was like,
that's wow. Wait,
yeah.
A month?
A month.
Yeah. Literally a month. And I was like, I already upgraded for the $50 a month one specifically for the spelling bee. And then I like changed it back because, I don't think we're going to do an event that big again until the next spelling bee. So
my God.
Yeah. But it was worth it. It was fine. It worked out and everybody, I think, had a good time. So
yeah. I mean, and there's some people that have not watched it. How much money did you raise during that spelling bee?
In total, so we had the fundraiser going for an entire month. In total, we raised just over $3,000, which our original goal was $2,500, which we hit. Going into the spelling bee, we I think had less than $100 donated, and then by the end, we had like $2,800. So
that's awesome.
It was crazy. Yeah. We got an anonymous $500 donation, and I'm still like, I wish I knew who it was.
The world may never know, but it's just knowing that it just goes to you and everything that it was supposed to, the whole fundraiser of what it was for. I mean, it's all for the betterment of the community and everyone that participated. But yes. Yeah. All right. So, I mean, to kick things off, I mean, like, what did you think? Well, first things first, we're going to start with the icebreaker, of course.
Yeah.
Hereth, do you want to ask the icebreaker or do you want me to?
Yeah. I mean, you can do it since you already kind of started it.
Yeah. I mean, so the whole season thus far, we've had so many questions around Soul, his emotions, his character, his feelings towards Osha, his thoughts after having to encounter a Sith on Kofar. How do you feel about Soul after this episode? Because we finally know what he was hiding from Osha all this time. Either one of you can go first.
Go ahead, Brooke.
I'm kind of mad at him.
I am too.
Not gonna lie. It's I don't know what I expected. I was like, because they've been kind of hyping up this whatever happened and with the Jedi, how they were involved. So I knew it was gonna be something really bad. And I feel like my expectations, I think, were both exceeded with how terrible it was, but also underwhelmed at the same time. I mean, I didn't think that the Jedi were ever going to be doing anything intentionally like evil, but just the way that like Torben literally was like, "Nah, I'd rather die than deal with this." So I don't know. I didn't know really what to expect coming in, but like I'm a little mad at Soul. I'm not mad at, and I'm sure we'll talk about it. I'm not mad at Torben because he is a child. He was a kid. He's dumb. But Soul acted, I think, very selfishly, and I think there's a lot of nuance with that. But my initial reaction was like, bro, what the fuck?
Yeah, for real.
I mean, Char, we knew you were mad. Look at that thumbnail, baby. Look how beautiful that face is.
Yeah. Soul made a big oopsie. Big oopsie.
No,
Nick, go ahead.
And I agree. I mean, I think like all through this season, we were presented, at least, or we interpreted the viewpoint that we were given of Soul of being this upstanding, prototypical, this is what we expect the Jedi to be. And then we get this episode and it completely flips the script on them. We see a person making a selfish, emotional choice based on absolutely zero interaction with this kid. And he had already decided that Osha needed to be his Padawan, not just in the Jedi Order, but his Padawan.
Yeah.
It definitely speaks to the hubris that we see of the Jedi by the time we get to the prequels, of this kind of, I know what's best for this kid without knowing anything about the family situation that they're in. Definitely changed how I viewed him after this episode, for sure.
As did everybody. I mean, it was the way Mother Anasea told him that she was going to let Osha go as she was dying.
Yeah.
It just shows you that it was only in a self-interest to go back there and save them, because they believed the kids were in danger and they thought they were the superheroes, but they didn't need saving. Only one person really needs saving, and that was when Osha was in the fire. Like that was it. Yeah. But to go and to be very provocative in a way, that just wasn't. And especially with them trying to bypass the door and climbing the wall.
That was what like really got me. They like fully provoked that situation and made it worse. And I think I saw someone on Twitter talking about like what would have happened if Indara had gone in by herself. And a lot of people are like, oh, it would have been terrible. They would have just killed her on the spot. But I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it's less menacing if she's going in alone. I think it's less menacing because she's a woman and they're a coven of women. I think it would have been a little bit alarming for them that like she broke in, and didn't just like knock on the front door. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting the position that Soul put her in. Because when like our first interaction with Indara outside of episode 1 is her seemingly being this standoff person with the Coven. And she's only in that situation because Soul pushed and pushed and pushed, which was really interesting to me that how she had to respond to it, and how she might have been responding to it differently if he hadn't been so pushy on it, because she was clearly the lead on that mission. So it definitely put her in a tight spot, for sure.
Okay, wait. Can you highlight the other comment that
I was about to say
that one right there?
And we just have what did that not happen, and did that not bring us to Order 66?
Yeah.
I mean,
the more that they got involved with the Republic, the more in check they were by what the Republic wanted. And they were doing the Republic's bidding. Because if we're going to talk about Marvel for a second, you don't think that the government would have abused that power and been like, here, superhero, go to this place and do bad things that we say is in the name of. Anyway, I can go on a whole tangent. That's dumb.
Yeah,
because it basically already happened.
Yeah. Also, Nick, I know you're gonna bring this up. The Jedi Guardian Act is a thing that exists.
Yeah, the Guardian Protocols in the High Republic. I mean, like, the whole nature of that is to basically make them a utilitarian organization. It makes me wonder if, A, they were still in effect by the time this show is on, but also I think, to your point, Brooke, if this is the inciting incident that basically brings the Star Wars version of the Sokovia Accords into effect when they find out the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you look at you listen to what Mother Anastasia said to Sol, and you'd like just be able to see the future when she told Sol, someday these noble intentions you have will destroy every Jedi in the galaxy, because it was literally what Luke was saying in The Last Jedi. The legacy of the Jedi, like the Jedi are romanticized, and if you strip away the myths and look at their deeds, the legacy of the Jedi is failure. They believe that they are these guardians of peace because they're like cops in this scenario. They're like, okay, well, we're doing the right thing because we follow the law, but that's not really the case all the time. We all know that.
Yeah.
Everything is not really, by the book with these people. So it's because, I mean, Sol's got a lot of baggage. That's literally the character. I mean, in the first few episodes, you see him as a peacekeeper. You see him as like a Qui-Gon Jinn-esque character. But man, this guy's got a lot of baggage.
I mean, I felt Tate did a really good job of like doing that today with the whole like. There's a reason the Jedi basically were like, yeah, you can train the younglings. You can just go over there. That's all you're good at. Just go over there and just do your thing.
For real. Yeah, it's same thing every single time. It's repetitive, and for a Sol to do something like this, I mean, I didn't expect him to be the one to off Mother Anastasia. I was surprised. I was very surprised, but I knew that he had to do something terrible for us to have us waiting for him to show what he did.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of people being surprised by
Sol's we got the
actions,
other half of the Yap Sash. We have Sawyer. Hi.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
Hey, bestie.
How you been?
I'm moving right now and I'm very stressed out, but it's okay.
So Sawyer, I'm good. Hereth, are you doing good?
I'm doing fine.
Sure. Nick, you doing good?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm doing good.
Yeah. So yeah, we finally have both of the members of the Yap Sesh. So to Sawyer, just to catch you up with the conversation so far, we're talking about Sol in this episode. This is the icebreaker question. So we're just asking, how do you feel about Sol after what he did in episode 7?
That's the icebreaker.
Yeah, it's a big one, but it's a very diverse discussion from the start.
I am disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
I do not think he's long for this world.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard. I think we all anticipated it was going to be bad, but I think there's just something very, very icky about the way that it was portrayed and the way that just the way that they showed him attaching to Osha so quickly. Like, I am not a Jedi hater, and I know it's not that black and white, but I'm not his like biggest fan at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I was saying before you came in here, he's got a lot of baggage. Yeah. And he had to done something terrible for us to wait 7 episodes to find out what he did. And for him to be the one to unalive Anastasia, that's something crazy.
I mean, honestly, what was more shocking to me, because I felt very much like it was a reaction out of fear, because I don't know if someone turned into smoke and like did basically what they do in horror movies in front of me, I might come out swinging too.
Yeah, you'd be like, oh shit.
What is more upsetting to me is that he made a conscious choice to choose Osha over May.
Yeah.
And that part
Yes.
I know a lot of people are saying, oh, it's like the trolley problem. And it's like, no, I feel like we've seen the Jedi do incredible things with the Force. I fully believe that there was the possibility that both of them could have been saved, but because of his there was bias there, and his bias for his attachment to Osha and bias against May for the behavior that he had witnessed from her. And my question is, did anyone explicitly tell Soul that it was May that started the fire? Did I miss that in the episode? Because I remember in the episode 3 when we see Osha wake up on the ship and she asks what happened, and Soul said May started a fire, your sister started a fire. I didn't think they ever showed that was what it happened.
I took away when May came running out saying that there was a fire, that
he just interpreted that it was her
interpreted. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, for me, and it was kind of in line with how he acted towards May that entire episode. He definitely had a deferential attitude towards May as opposed to Osha once it was clear that May had no interest in partaking in any of their stuff, honestly.
And that's frustrating to me now too, even if he knew that it was May that started the fire, that he automatically assumed that it was with bad intentions or that it was on purpose, which we see that it is a little gray. Coral kind of pushed her into doing it.
Yeah.
She still did it, but she's still a child. This whole time since we saw episode 3, I'm there's no way that she was not coerced into doing this somehow, because I felt it in my heart that May is not, and that's what are the prequels about? That no one is inherently born with this evil in them. It's taught, right?
Yeah.
I think Pat's got a good point there in his comment.
Yeah.
Stating
Yeah, right
how,
here. The Pat's comment right here.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was thinking too, because maybe Soul thought May was sort of, quote unquote, maybe expendable because she already did the ascension. So she was devoted to the Coven rather than the Jedi. And Osha was not. So there's a debacle there too, with the whole bridge scene and him somewhat voluntarily letting May go.
Also, we're forgetting the fact that Soul also once again misplaced Osha and May, because when May runs out, it's oh my god, there's a fire. Soul goes, Osha, and the entire scene, he thinks it's Osha.
Oh yeah, right before he
kills Anasea.
He deals the blow to Anasea.
Yeah. And I really liked someone in a group chat that we have was pointed that out when the episode dropped, and they were oh, I can't believe what was the point of showing that? He couldn't even and I was well, no, the point is that he didn't actually know Osha. He thought he knew Osha. He sensed this connection, but actually they're identical. And then Leslie did an interview with Collider talking about it, and she said basically exactly what I just said. And then she was yeah, and then look at Kymir. Kymir immediately was able to distinguish between the two of them in episode 2 when Osha walks in pretending to be May, and that's a very intentional choice. And it's yeah, I don't know, but I feel we also with I agree with Brooke. The bridge scene is what threw me over the edge for being distrustful of Soul. Oh, that was kind of a pun, wasn't it? But it for me, we've had so many instances in Star Wars when someone's hanging off a ledge or when they need to be saved with the Force, and we have so many instances of Jedi characters doing everything they possibly can, using all of their power to rescue this whoever is in danger. And there is just something so deeply unsettling about watching him choose. It felt so... I know we keep comparing him to Qui-Gon, and in a lot of ways he is like Qui-Gon, but I can't... I don't know. I just... it's icky.
Yeah, it's a little definition of like not putting your ego aside and just dealing with the situation at hand. And like, I love how like the entire like we nixed it on the discussion during the reaction. I love how the entire time we were just like, oh, and Dara did this, and Dara is the reason why the situation went abroad. Like how I love how the show basically like purposely leads you down this path of like going it's Indara. And like Brooke said, it's like if Indara was the only one that handled this situation would have gone 100% differently.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. But yeah, I'm excited to see what happens to Soul in this next episode because he seems stuck in the middle of nowhere, and we have no idea if he's going to be getting back to Coruscant anytime soon.
Or at all.
But okay. So to begin the discussion, do anyone want to add any thoughts about Soul before we dive into the main discussion? Because that was one hefty ass icebreaker, Hereth. I'm telling you.
Okay, wait. I have a lighter icebreaker.
Oh,
Do we think that Soul and Indara, there
Yeah.
was
No.
tis not the Jedi
Yeah.
way.
Oh,
Hey,
come
we
on.
are.
But it is the
Okay.
High Republic.
We're not
Jedi
that
way.
far
It
back.
is the High
Republic.
Republic.
It is
We're not
100%
that
the
far
Jedi.
back.
Temptation
not
of
that
the
far
Force will
back
tell you
anymore.
otherwise.
I think what they do as Padawans is kind of like I won't tell if you won't tell.
Oh, like a Obi-Wan Satine kind of
And all the
thing?
Jedi Masters are like,
Master and Apprentice.
I'm
Qui-Gon.
not going to go down that dormitory hall.
Yeah.
What I don't see, if I don't see it, it doesn't exist.
All right, so everyone in the chat, do you think that Soul and Indara are
There was definitely a familiarity there that goes above and
Ah.
beyond just being on missions. 100%.
It totally reminded me of like Light of the Jedi, Avar Elzar interactions.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Especially right at the end of that book, like when they're on the Grand Concourse of Starlight Beacon?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hereth, what do you think? You haven't heard from you, Hereth.
Sorry, I was in the middle of making a poll.
Oh. Wait, you can make polls?
Yeah, you can make polls on YouTube.
Pull it up.
I'm team they definitely did because the whole like conversation of like, oh, this is why you don't have a Padawan, and like the kind of like snarky back and forth of like, I'm like, yeah, there's some sexual tension there.
Yeah. Char, what do you think?
I do not think so. I think we are in the point where we're kind of merging into the prequel era. We're at like the very like tail end of the High Republic. So I think they're kind of like straying away from that type of
Yeah, but aren't you the person that just brought up Obi-Wan and Satine?
Yeah, but it was like not with another Jedi. That was the thing.
That we know of.
Satine's not a Jedi.
Okay,
That'd be cool.
you think Quinlan Voss never did the dirty with anyone else ever at the Jedi Temple?
That man was 100% not a virgin. Absolutely not.
Okay, so there's like 5 different categories of Jedi. You got like the political side with like Coleman Trebor and those fellas. You got like the
Dinosaurs
ones that
can
like
have
to go
sex
into the
too.
Fake.
yeah the Verker.
You don't think Kit Fisto didn't fuck? You
You
don't
have them
think there was some lady Jedi or male Jedi? I don't know which way he swings.
You got like the
Now we're like,
librarians.
All
You got-
into Kit Fisto?
like there's like different groups of Jedi that are like have a different personality. Quinlan Voss is in his own cookie jar. Like he's his own entity. Okay.
In terms of the poll, we're at 50-50 right now.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Y'all voted no.
Where's this poll? I gotta vote yes.
Yeah, I got to vote yes. I voted yes on that poll. For sure they did.
This is what you guys get for having Yap Sesh on your show.
Well, I appreciate it. I like to have different types of questions because of what's happening in the episode. We like to think about you guys like to think outside of the box, and we appreciate that.
We're just women, Char.
John.
You gotta bring that up.
I saw.
Bring that comment up.
Speaking of, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Listen, they don't give salaries to the Jedi. They just kind of like let them live at the temple and shit. You don't think that Kit Fisto wasn't in his room doing OnlyFans to make some extra cash with that kind of name?
Oh my god, him just
Absolutely.
smiling the entire shoot.
That's all he'd need to do, probably.
Nico, what is Nico? So in the cartoon Young Justice, on Cartoon Network, RIP Cartoon Network, Black Canary serves as the primary therapist for heroes. Who the fuck is the therapist of the Jedi Temple, and why are they not doing a job? Exactly. This is why we're so far away from the High Republic.
Yeah, they had something similar in the High Republic. I remember in I think it was Tempest Runner.
Yeah,
they had someone talk to a therapist, a Jedi therapist of some kind.
I forget. It's like, can't Jedi pick between like human therapists and like droid therapists in the High Republic as well, where it's like they can kind of like differentiate what they want from it.
Possibly, I can't remember.
Yeah,
but it wasn't. At some point, it was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Damn Guardian protocols.
See, now this is quite the conversation. This is something to really get the ball rolling. No pun intended. But. This Kit Fisto thing's gotta simmer down, man. This kid is getting unhinged here. Oh man. Indar knows.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you for validating me in my thoughts.
Thanks, Pat.
I mean, hey, maybe we'll find out that they had a past. Maybe we'll find out. Well, maybe we'll get like an Acolyte comic book series. Maybe we'll get a prequel to the Acolyte. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe they had some sort of connection to each other. But I mean, as of right now, it's just theories. But hey, I mean, we can think of what we like, you know. But I mean, it would be interesting to see if they actually had like some close quarters relationship. But okay, back to the discussion. That was something else. But comparing to last week's episode, because last week's episode we get a whole lot of information about who Chimera is, what Osha's character may become, what's happening with Soul, what's happening with Vernestra. And this episode, we learn a lot about the past. So comparing to last week's episode, how does this one feel as opposed to the last week?
It wasn't 0 out of 10 no Chimera, but
I know we didn't get naked Chimera. Unfortunately.
No skin dipping this week.
Yeah, well, can't always win, you know.
I mean, I'm gonna have to go back through, I think, and watch all of the episodes. A lot of people are not happy that they made the second to last. You know, what is it? What do they call it? Penultimate. I can't say that word. Penultimate. Thank you.
Yeah.
Episode. Like a complete flashback episode after, you know, they had been building to this Chimera reveal and then pushing the plot forward. But like, it felt to me, I didn't feel like it was very jarring for it to be a complete flashback, because I think there had been enough breadcrumbs in the entire season talking about this event leading up to it that it did feel like the kind of the climax of the story, because we still needed to know what happened. I think if I could change anything, I might like sprinkle some scenes in with like Osha being retold this story, or May being retold this story by Soul, and Chimera telling Osha about this story, because obviously there's some way that he knows, but I think they didn't do that because they haven't explained how Chimera is involved with this whole situation, and B, just because we're cursed with knowledge of the real world, just looking at it from a production standpoint, both episode 3 and episode 7 were directed by the same person.
Yeah.
And so they were probably on the schedule back to back. And so production wise, it made more sense to film them as complete, you know, because they had their own sets. They had their own like special guest actors kind of thing. So.
Also, the words, like the episode titles of Choice and Destiny, do kind of go together.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Sawyer, what do you think about comparing last week's episode to this week's episode?
I mean, it wasn't my favorite overall, but it's kind of hard because I think episodes 4, 5, and 6 tell a complete story, and they intentionally do. And Leslie has said that 4, 5, and 6 are basically for Chimere, for the Stranger, for this additional villain in the story that does play probably a larger role in the future of these characters more than he plays a role in their past. I mean, it's tonally very different, but I didn't have a problem with it being a full flashback episode. And, you know, the whole time I was on the edge of my seat because I knew, and I think Brooke made a great point when she said there's enough breadcrumbs throughout the entire season and this callback to the fire and what actually happened. I think that also I think it's balanced because I don't know, it makes sense, but I mean there was I think we all wanted to know. We were getting to a point where like we want to know what happens, what did Soul do, and I also think that because Destiny is just Osha's perspective, I think it was important for the audience to have the truth be presented to them on its own, away from like the dual timeline situation, because the audience still needed a complete picture of what actually happened. So in that sense, it very different from episode 6, but I didn't dislike it. And I think that they were able to, I think I would rather them have told the whole story like they did here than chop it up and perhaps we miss something. I don't know.
Nick, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like I think we talked about it before in previous roundtables. I'd kind of agreed with Brooke. I expected it to almost be a dual POV where you were having Soul talk to May and Chimere talk to Osha. I think the way it handled it was really well. I mean, we knew something had happened, and it was obviously something terrible to make Kelnaka go into hermithood on Kofar and have Torben take the Barash vow on Oleta. I think that the nature of the act lived up to that, between what Kelnaka did to poor Torben's face, and really Torben, I think, and we talked about it on the live stream or on the live reaction, not wanting to be around Osha because of what he had to experience on Brendok, which I think was his driver. My headcanon was his driver to take the Barash vow, was to get away, far away from anyone related to that situation from having happened. I mean, yeah, it's definitely, I think Sawyer, you're right, it's totally different from episode 6, but I think that was a good thing. I think, you know, the way episode 6 left off, we clearly were going this direction, so I think it made sense for it to be that shift. And it definitely provides a whole new light on what might happen on Tuesday's finale to me. Because I think, you know, we had talked before about possibly seeing Osha and May do a switch of, you know, May almost coming to Soul's side after understanding the situation, because we all thought Soul was innocent, clean, good guy, which is clearly not the case anymore. So it definitely opens up new questions for what's going to come on Tuesday.
And another thing about being innocent, what episode 7 showed us that, well, what episode 3 showed us that episode 7 didn't, was the whole thing about in 3 with May telling Osha that she was going to kill her. But in episode 7, you see that the fire was not intentional. Like it wasn't supposed to happen. Because in 3 you see May as this villain, like she was trying to like practically assassinate her sister. But in 7 you see that like, okay, well, she didn't want it to escalate that far. So May be more innocent than we thought, and I'm so glad that in episode 3, as going forward into the season, we see that she is portrayed as a villain. But then as we get closer and closer to the end, that she is more, she's she's probably more innocent than Soul is.
Oh, totally. I mean, she's a
Well, I
victim of
think she is more
circumstance.
innocent than Soul is.
No.
I think that that point specifically, the conversation around episode 3 and that scene where she says, "I'm gonna kill you," a lot of people were like, "Oh, that's a ridiculous. That's crazy that she would say I love you and then go and say I'm gonna kill you." No, that's how little kids talk to each other. That's how they talk to their siblings. And that's what Leslie has said as well. So it's like open to interpretation whether or not that actually happened. But I think the point is that they were children and one of them wanted to go off on their own and the other wanted to follow what they were brought up into. But at the end of the day, May was still, like Brooke mentioned earlier, Coral completely had control over May, and she was like, "Okay, go be angry, use your anger." Like that was manipulation. That was using a child for what Coral wanted. And I think what we've seen throughout the series is that, yes, obviously May is the original apprentice and she does kill Indara, but I honestly don't think that I can't see her going like, "Oh, I'm going to be a Jedi now." But I don't think that May actually has darkness in her the way that I think Osha is going to, because May has been able to walk in the truth for her entire life. She knows what happened, and she found out very quickly that revenge was not feeding her soul. And I don't think that's what's going to happen with Osha. But no, let's set the record straight. May is innocent.
Yeah,
for the most part. She did kill Indara. But...
and Torben.
But that also was more Khmer.
Well,
I
it
mean,
is and it isn't. I mean, at the end of the day, she presented him with the poison and gave him a
let's
choice.
just say, in that scenario, the Amazon driver delivered the bomb. Let's just say that. that was what happened there.
I mean, but I do agree with Sawyer. I mean, this episode makes one thing very clear. May is a victim of circumstances beyond her control. Yeah. Coral revs her up and revs her up and revs her up and then points her at her sister, which causes that whole situation. And whether it was Khmer or whether it was someone else, someone revved her up again to go after the Jedi because she was under the belief that Osha was dead. She didn't realize Osha was alive until episode 2. So someone didn't tell her or didn't know, but pointed her in the right direction to go, these are the people that are the reason why your sister is dead. So no, she's definitely a victim of circumstances that she was placed in rather than of her own actions. And the second she realizes her sister's alive, her first response is, "Bye, I'm out of here."
Yeah, can we talk about the fact that the twins are basically two halves of one person? Yeah, I mean, they briefly mentioned that for a little bit in the ship when Indara and Soul were talking about how they were created, about how this virgins was made. And they talk about, well, is this just a split sort of, like, is this like a split between one person into two? I don't, because there's been a lot of discussion about how these children were created. And it's caused a lot of fans to be very mad, but it should not be that crazy. Like,
irrationally mad. Let's be clear about that, because a lot of them are mad about it's cheapening Anakin's legacy or blah blah blah. And it's like they've been very clear, and I think Leslie was clear in her interview this week that the Virgins was the planet and not the twins.
Yeah, and then I saw Brandon made a video about it as well, where it's like the cave on Dagobah, the hole in Last Jedi and Octo, and it's like there's like, yeah, we very much established that Virgins is our location outside of Anakin, and it's like it's been very major clear that's where the ceremony was at. It was at the Virgins.
Yeah,
that's where it happened.
Yeah, I wanna can you pull up John's comment?
Yeah, of course.
I wholeheartedly disagree.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this on Twitter the other day because I've been thinking about it a lot, and a lot of people are like, the Sith have to be involved somehow. we are going to. This is leading, I think, to the Sith being able to get the idea of this, because the Sith are not interested in collaborating with anybody. They're interested in exploiting other people's powers and other people's ideas and eradicating them, like we saw them do with Dathomir, and what they would like to do with the Jedi. They don't want any other Force users out there in the world, but they will steal their ideas if they're good enough. And so I think that the Sith is going to somehow catch wind that this coven was able to create this life and that this planet allowed this vergence to happen, because I don't think that the vergence I've said from the beginning when when everyone was talking about how Osha and May could be a dyad in the Force. A dyad has pretty explicitly been stated that it's not something that you can create consciously. It just is, it happens naturally of the Force. So that's also what I think this vergence is that Mother Anasea wanted to create a child using the Force, or whatever they understand the Force to be. And by good luck, because they were on this planet that is very deep with this vergence power, was able to split this baby into two, or put two consciousnesses out there from the one creation. And I think the Sith they're going to be like, shit, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Let's go fucking steal it. And I think that's it's leading to Chymir's whole thing. I think the whole reason he probably sought May out was to get to her and Osha, to get this thing, to get this power. And it makes so much sense. I don't see Mother Coral working. A lot of people are like, oh, well, maybe Mother Coral is the secret Sith in the background. No, I don't think so. I don't think that they're involved or connected at all prior to this.
Yeah. And sorry.
No,
I remember Molly made a really good point about this during episode 3. It's I would rather it just to be the Sith just take advantage of the situation being fucked up by both parties and then going, oh, we could just take the situation and make it our own, rather than them being involved from the very beginning. I think that just narratively makes a better story than, they've been pulling the strings since the beginning of the show. I think that it also makes Brendok more of a tragedy, because no one has anyone to blame but Soul. And
it wasn't orchestrated like that. And that's why a lot of people are upset with how the sequel trilogy went, because it's it was Palpatine all along, which kind of undermines the rest of the plot points. We don't have to talk about the Rise of Skywalker or anything.
Yeah.
But that is a similar criticism that I am hearing. So having people complain about that and then wanting the same thing essentially for the Acolyte and being disappointed when it's not that is the math not mathing.
Yeah. I just don't think it makes sense. But what I think does make sense, and I made a video about this because I feel like Leslie has she's kind of just going out there doing all the interviews and saying all the things, which is great. But I think something that, she's getting a lot of criticism for not understanding Star Wars. And I would go out on a limb and say that she probably understands Star Wars more than a lot of the showrunners we've had previously, insofar as she is very well acquainted with the history of the Sith in Legends and understands that from the Darth Bane novels onwards in the expanded universe, the Sith were primarily trying to create life and, by extension, immortality. So she understands, and that's how she's answered these questions, and the Sith take and they exploit, and it doesn't... I think she has said very clearly that Chimir has nothing to do with the witches, and he obviously has his own agenda. So, and I also think that, we've got one episode left. The questions that are going to be answered in this last episode are going to be surrounding what really happened that created Osha and May, how did May survive, and what's going to happen with Soul. Really, those are the 3 main questions that can and will be answered this next episode. Yeah. And everything else with the Sith can be set up to be explored in a second season.
Yeah.
And
I know... sorry, you go, Nick.
I was just... And I think Leslie said specifically in the interview this week that the one answer we will for sure get is about the twins and how they were created. I think she was fairly explicit in that point. And I also love like how in their interviews, excuse me, I should say that properly. In their interviews, their response to fan baiting or anything else is to go, well, I don't know what to tell you. I've watched Star Wars. I've lived Star Wars. Basically, it's like take your false criticisms and go away. And I've loved that from Leslie throughout all of her interviews doing that, because I think that it shows a confidence in her knowledge, to your point, Sawyer, that they understand Star Wars, that they are a bigger Star Wars fan than I think we've seen any of the other showrunners. And I know Tony Gilroy was involved in Rogue One, but it's not the same level of depth of knowledge that we're seeing out of Leslie's writing so far.
Well, when we get this criticism from like the Star Wars dude bros, oh, she doesn't understand Star Wars. It's like, no, she does, but she's also primarily a storyteller. And so she understands not only the lore, but she is going to adjust the lore, which is most of the Sith lore is not canon. It's all from Legends content now. Yeah. She is going to adjust it to what is going to fit the best narratively. And that's the same criticism that a lot of people have with Rian Johnson. And Rian Johnson, arguably up until this point, up until The Acolyte, I think brought a lot of like the most Legends things.
Oh yeah.
Influences into with The Last Jedi than anyone else. And he's also a storyteller.
Also, just the Sith are the least explored area of Star Wars canon, because the Sith that we've had up until this point are Maul, Sidious, Tyrannus, mostly Vader, and a little bit of Momin. And
Nihilus.
So, what?
And Nihilus. I'm kidding.
You had me stop there for a
second. I was like,
when did we say Nihilus?
Yeah, but also another thing. Well, we also are forgetting the Sith legions, the names of the Sith legions in Exegol, because Tenebris by name is
we don't know the extent to which those stories are the same as they were in Legends and whatnot. I guess the point that I'm trying to make is there is all the room in the world for Leslie or whoever else to write the lore of the Sith.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, we've gotten into this habit, the fandom has gotten into this habit of being hypercritical very early on and not just jumping to conclusions before we see the whole story play out. Like on episode 5, diehard fans are like, oh my god, that helmet is Cortosis. And then casual fans are going, oh wait, did he just short circuit a lightsaber? How did that work? That was really cool. And then all these people are like, why didn't they explain the Cortosis? Episode 6, he's like, this is Cortosis. This is what it does. Like,
yeah, or for anyone who's read the Thrawn books, or anyone that's like, I mean, this Cortosis has been around for like 30 years. I mean,
it's not,
because
it's been around for a while.
There are some fans that need, they need, here comes the airplane, let me spoon feed every single answer to you immediately.
Well, and it's also,
fuck off, bro.
This wasn't the first canon appearance of Cortosis.
But
that would require people, they must say require, that would have been people who have read the Thrawn books.
You mean I have to read a book?
Keyword there.
I know. But
God.
Again, I think
I'm different. I'm built different. I get all of my Legends information off of Wikipedia.
And
I'm gonna have to flip over this entire
bookshelf. I didn't read a
bookshelf.
single Legends novel, but I'm gonna go in your comments and say, well, actually, in Legends, blah blah blah. I can't believe they ruined Star Wars like
Those
this.
are the type of people that love Drew Karpyshyn but have never read a single piece of his work. Oh, I love the Revan novel. Okay, yeah. Tell me what happens on Droman Koss. Please tell me. Yeah, but this is also a very interesting question. Was there ever a time in which the Jedi and Sith got along? From what I know,
during the Eternal Empire in SWTOR.
Yeah, in canon, from what I know, no.
That's actually going to be the season finale, and it's just going to be Osha and Chimere fucking.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's getting along, if you ask me.
Yes.
Also, this
I
other
agree.
comment
Yep,
from Nico
says
has me
shiz
dying.
every Wednesday at noon.
Here's the difference between me and Leslie. Leslie will give you a very nuanced and more heavy story about good, evil, and gray. I'll give you a 30 for 30 holonet series about the Buka E classic. Yeah, tell us about why Neva Keat is a dick. Please tell me.
No, but seriously, that's kind of exactly what Brooke was saying.
Tell me why Mahonic just died. Okay.
Like, I don't know ever, like, I certainly couldn't write you a comprehensive story within the Star Wars universe. I can make an OC Jedi who has all the cool powers that I want her to have, but that's not the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these other people out here, these dude bros, want to think that they can write Star Wars like it's like that. No, there's got to be a conflict. There's got to be characters. There's got to be a division between those characters. There's got to be.
You mean Vader Episode 1 isn't the best fan film you've ever seen?
Let me tell you, that Palpatine was beautiful.
Hey, that's from my script.
They stole it from me, Carmichael.
Don't Char.
That was the day.
What I think of is the videos that you a couple months ago of the Hello Greedo videos. Like, what if like the dude bros wrote Last Jedi and it's like Luke on a giant mech or some stupid shit.
No, but these dude bros, they saw the PowerPoint presentation like swipe transitions in Star Wars, and they said, "Oh, so Star Wars is just a PowerPoint presentation. I'm gonna make that." And then everyone is going to go to the theater and spend millions of dollars on this big movie. And they're going to love it because it's just going to be like, my name is Dingledorf. And I am a Sith. And this is what I believe.
Do people get mad the 1993 PC game Rebel Assault didn't follow canon, instead had Rookie 1 blow up the desk? Not my Star Wars. I prefer Legends, where Luke
No, it was
kill
guys.
everybody.
It was Anakin. Anakin blew up the Death Star. Remember?
Oh
yeah.
Charlie
But no,
Hunnam
that was
told me.
also a thing
Both.
too. Yeah,
Didn't he
the
do- he
actors
did
must know
both.
Star Wars too. It's literally just.
No, it's
made
like
it.
that really threw me for a loop in the like initial, like in the first half of the Acolyte when people are going after him for that. I'm like, you don't like very like occasionally you get someone like why am I blanking on her name? No, what's the from Fallout? Why am I blanking on her name?
Oh my god. The actress
the
plays
main
Lucy. Oh my god, what's her name?
I followed her on Instagram like a week
Ella
ago.
Purnell.
Yeah.
Ella Purnell. Yeah,
Yeah.
she played Fallout 4 before she like did the show. And like that's really cool and like, you know, that's kind of a universe where you know, you don't really need to know the lore, but like if you're familiar with the universe then you know what's going on and like you
You
get
know
the
who
references
didn't
and
play
the show,
a
whatever.
single second of The Last of Us? Pedro Pascal.
I was going to get to that. Yeah.
And he is Joel
but-
Miller, actually.
Yeah, so I mean I don't understand that. Like do the research if you're playing a real person,
Yeah.
but that's not what's happening.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
That should be canon now, I think.
Kamira's Sith name is Darth Dingledorf.
Stop! Oh my god.
Where's Darth Bortles? No.
No more Darth Bortles.
Where's
is no
Darth
more.
Icky?
Where's Darth Tooth? Where's Darth Tooth? Oh man.
Or Nick's favorite,
Brooke, I
Darth
think this is-
Bortles.
Darth Bortles.
Darth
Go
Bortles.
Jags.
All right.
I
So
had a thought there, and I don't remember what I was going to say. So, anyway.
we'll give you a moment to try to recover it. But all right. We're gonna ask the next question of so far of the Acolyte. I mean, with us getting to the penultimate episode, and I mean the finale will be in what, 4 days, 5 days?
Oof.
Compared to all of these episodes, all the way up to 7, where do you think this episode ranks as to amongst the other 6 that have come out? Where do you think this sits on a ranking?
Like on
Me
a scale
personally?
from 1 to 10, or like
No,
on
as
my
like if you were to make a tier list of all the episodes, where would this sit?
For me,
Number
for
4.
me, it's-
Well,
yeah.
this
Oh.
comment gives it more context.
Hereth, we're in a battle with all the comment. It bothers me that all these dickheads online who think they can write Star Wars give themselves the biggest projects. If I could, I would be writing a cooking show, a sports documentary, and an iCarly in space. Hell yeah. We need iCarly in space.
Peak cinema.
For a second, I thought iCarly went to space, but anyways, back on track. So where does this episode sit amongst all the other ones?
Sawyer, I think you had started there when we got cut off.
Oh yeah, I just said I stacked it up. I put it at 4.
You got that very briefly in the Living Force, Chris. That's all you're getting.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think that episode 3 was the weakest for me personally.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think episode 7. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed what we learned and the story that unfolded. I loved Torben, and that was a character that I wasn't expecting to develop any kind of attachment to, and I just absolutely loved his character, and I think his story is actually one of the most heartbreaking out of all the characters in this show. So yeah, I would say it's like middle of the road, but I think that episodes 5 and 6 together are some of the best Star Wars ever, so it's a little hard to top that.
Brooke, where do you think this sits? Where do you think this episode sits amongst the rest?
I mean, I'm gonna have to wait until we see the finale, but I think it'll sit in my like top half of the 8. I think the first, 5 and 6, like Sawyer said, are just so good. Like 5 is one of my favorite episodes of television in general ever, let alone Star Wars. And I think the first 3 were good, and it was a lot of setup, but they were like the weakest to me, just because there's a lot of exposition that you have to do to like build this new time period and this new world and the characters and everything. I think 7 informs 3 so much, but it's like, I don't know, I just thought it was really good, despite, because I had a similar feeling, not quite in the same way. Like when I walked out of The Last Jedi, I was like sweaty. Like I was just like drenched in sweat because I was like, that's the best thing I've ever seen. And like, I don't know how I'm going to live now after I have this show. And then you go online and everyone's like, it was terrible, blah, blah, blah. I felt very good walking out of that episode being like, wow, that was really fucking good. And then going online and seeing how many people were criticizing it, not even like the fandom menace or anything, just like a lot of mutuals of mine were like, wow, that episode sucked. And I was like very shocked by it because I really thoroughly enjoyed it.
Nick, where do you think episode 7 sits?
For me, as of right now, it's top 3. I agree with what Brooke and Sawyer both said. I think 5 and 6 are some of the best stories in Star Wars to this point. I think 6 especially gives such a narrative nuance, and I know I wasn't a fan of it when I first watched it because I had my own expectations that it didn't meet, and since I've watched it a few times since, I've definitely appreciated it more. And I mean, the finale I think is going to be the big, it sucks to a degree that the finale is going to kind of hinge about whether or not the story completes the way Leslie has said it's meant to be a complete story, but I think it's set up well to do that. But yeah, for me it's top 3.
For me, yeah, I would say it's definitely top 5. I wouldn't go top 3 just yet. I need to see how the finale kind of plays into things. It could easily get bumped out, but it also could easily just stay right there. To me, it's like I already did kind of like my quick like rankings in my head. I was like, where would I put all the episodes? Like as you guys were going. So I would say I prefer it over 6 and 4 so far. So it's actually kind of at the bottom of the poll.
Now I'm just thinking, what could happen in episode 8? But then yet again, our co-host Luke Agan needs to give more theories so we can know what doesn't happen.
Oh my god,
Is he
Sawyer,
lurking
I
in
don't
the
know
chat?
No, I don't think he's here. But Sawyer, I don't know if you're familiar with all the theories that Luke had about this show.
Oh my god.
They were absolutely abysmal. We literally had him just making theories just to be like, okay, we know that won't happen. Luke has some of the worst theories I have ever seen. He's had like 4, and they've all been way off.
So
The first one, he thought there was a triplet. The
After
second
episode
one,
3.
the second one, he thought the Sith was Mother Coral. The third one, he thought that Chimere was a Knight of Ren because of a 5-second music clip. Even though in episode 2 he was reciting the rule of 2, but that's beyond that. Episode the fourth one, he thinks what was the other one that he had?
He had one really recently that was like really bad after episode 7. I remember
he was convinced that Chimere was
Revan.
Basically it was venomous from
venomous.
Oh,
from
he had
Plagueis
venomous,
novel.
but he said Revan during episode 6.
He did think Revan when Chimere said that he was a
Why?
Jedi
Yes.
a really
He
long
split
time
his
ago.
saber and he had 2, and he's okay.
Oh well, he said he's really old, guys. So obviously,
Yeah, he's like thousands of years old. Yeah,
I mean, to the earlier point, like we don't know a lot about Sith lore. We know Revan and Tenebris and them exist, but we don't know when and in what form, or even what species they were.
oh yeah,
So-
and the guy that boosted up Luke's theory about him being a Knight of Ren. Yeah,
I
we
mean,
lit-
I will say that Leslie has. Oh yeah. Chris said it for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, she does keep saying that the Knight of Ren or the Kylo Ren theme has its place in the show. So.
But I also kind of subscribe to the way that Marianne was kind of pitching Kylo Ren's theme because it was playing a couple times throughout 7. So I think it's more of just like a motif for being a failed Padawan. I think that's kind of the purpose of it.
say
being
that
an
to
acolyte.
your face. I will say it when I play you in NCAA football 25. Okay, but all I'm going to
Oh,
tell you
yeah.
right now is that the theories of Luke saying that there was a triplet, even though the show was completely set up to be twins, they've never even alluded to a third. And then the Knights of Ren thing is just crazy. I mean, the Knights of Ren could be like inspirations for it. I don't think he's the first ever Knight of Ren, because I mean, Leslie's already said that this show is about the Sith. I mean, why would there just be a random Darksaber that's just mowing down Jedi like it's no tomorrow? Have it just be a Knight of Ren? Like that would just feel weird to me. I mean,
that's
he
one of
already-
those theories that I feel like another creator could explore in another piece of media. Like maybe the first Knight of Ren was very inspired by Chimere or something.
Yeah.
Like that's connective tissue that someone could make down the line. So like I think it's a sound idea, but I don't think it was there was any intention behind it when they were actually making the show. And like to the point of the Kylo Ren theme, to me it's more like the theme, because Kylo Ren's whole character is that he is split between the light and the dark. Like he's unbalanced. And if you slow down the Kylo Ren theme or use different instruments to play it, like we hear in The Rise of Skywalker when he becomes like goes back to being on the light side as Ben Solo, it's like a very beautiful motif. And so I think because this whole the Acolyte, the whole show is showing how there is so much gray within, it isn't just like the Jedi are the light and the Sith are bad.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of gray in between there. Not great Jedi. Fuck off.
gray
But, like,
emotions.
Gray emotions, gray actions. Because do I think that Soul is evil because of what he did? No, he's still a Jedi that, made a mistake or that made a selfish choice. As if we're all not human and have not done similar things in our lives,
John
Well,
Pedro's
I mean-
taking swings tonight. This is a very staunch defender of Luke down here.
The people criticizing Luke just shipping Soul in into heart.
yeah, because I have eyes. Bestie. What the fuck?
Well, I mean, he also said, "I stand with Luke. Please sit down. Don't stand with him. Like this is literally anything that involves Luke. Do the opposite. Okay?
Yeah.
He's
I mean,
a Nebraska fan. We all know they don't win, so therefore, just do the opposite."
Hey, you know
Oh,
what?
tread lightly
When
with
the
this one.
inevitable-
All theories matter. With that, tread lightly with that middle word.
Not one of them. Not
Tread
one of
lightly
them.
with that middle word.
What?
I was waiting for Brooke to be like, let's gatekeep theories.
I'm talking about like the theory of
Yeah.
gravity, and you know.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
the theory of relativity. We're talking about
Yeah,
Einstein,
yeah.
Oppenheimer. What do you think? Oh, great. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Let's all do Cillian Murphy memes. I sit opposed to Luke. Thank you.
Listen, every good podcast needs someone to say theories that are a little bit out there.
Okay, Dr. Disrespect's not on the show. Okay. Brooke the Dr. Pepper. Hey, I mean,
Not sponsored.
well, let me tell you, I know someone who drinks a lot of Dr. Pepper, and he's got some terrible theories. His name is Luke Egan. Let me, like, he
Yeah, but this is
needs-
diet. You know,
Ah.
so, like it's reeling me in a
The
little.
less
bit.
calories make a better
Okay.
taste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Luke on the other hand drinks straight up Dr. Pepper. I mean, that guy is a menace, not only to the Star Wars community, but also to be able to make theories. Because if he says any words, just think the opposite, and it'll be true. Because that's
Unless
what
it's
we did.
Obi-Wan Kenobi related, then he'll probably be right.
Does he think Chimera is gonna die? I need to know this right now.
Does Chimera die?
I don't know. I need to. Maybe I need to text Luke later and ask if he thinks Chimera is gonna die.
No. That's what we did. That's what we did. We literally asked Luke a bunch of questions, and we thought, like, okay, we all know that's not going to happen. It was an easy way to be able to sum up the show. We already know everything that happens because Luke answered questions, and we're like, okay, that's incorrect.
But yeah. Anyways,
I think he did think that Chimera was going to die. I think he thought he was going to die at the hands of Plagueis, if I remember correctly.
yeah. Wait.
Yes. Okay. My boy is safe.
Okay, good. See, that's why we asked Luke. Oh God, Kid Fisto conversation. Oh man. Anyways, okay, we've already like ranked where this episode sits. I mean, Hereth, I feel like we should just jump to like just this right here. I mean, we could. I mean, we've gone on a tangent about Kit Fisto and Dara,
This part right
Soul
here?
little ship, and Hereth, if you want to go ahead and kick it off. I mean, this is where it gets interesting.
I mean,
This is where it gets interesting.
this is where it gets interesting.
This is where the fun begins.
Is it really fun? Let's like open the can of worms that we usually open after every week, because I feel like every week it's like, except for the exception of 5 and 6, there's always something going on in the Fandom Menace, like in relation to the episode, and it's like you kind of have to talk about it. And then obviously this week it's been all about like, oh, the Jedi kidnap children, talking points back, and then oh no, virgins in the Force, oh they ruin Anakin again. So it's like again, it's like as much as I don't want to talk about it, it's like instinctively linked to the discourse of the show, and it's like there's no really way of like getting around it. And you kind of have to talk about it. So again, let's just kind of dive back into it, because it seemed like the Phantom Menace is now heating back up again after cooling down for a couple weeks. So I feel like we could start with Nick, because I feel like Nick has been around for all these episodes, and I feel like he's kind of a good starting point for all this.
Brooke.
You're welcome. I don't know what else to say.
All right,
Brooke, you menace.
I feel like this at the moment.
We need to grab a guillotine and find whoever made that question.
You're under arrest, you piece of crap! You ain't never getting out of prison!
I didn't know that clip was still
The
circulating.
thing that broke here too makes it even much more interesting, because Hereth was responsible for all of that blasphemy that happened during that match. And I'm glad that you reminded Brooke that happened because
This is why I don't do trivia anymore because I don't know anything about Star Wars.
Yeah, we're a bunch of cowards. We don't know what we're talking about. And also, Hereth is just like, yeah, let's have like 2 phone numbers together and have you try to remember it. Okay, that was how long it was.
I should really get that number tattooed on me. Just for
it's like 13 digits.
Next time we meet Brooke, she's just gonna have a temporary tattoo.
It's like 15932472150. I don't know. It was long as hell.
Is that for Chris?
Yeah, he sent that to me. He sent that same gift to me unprompted the other day after the Gladiator 2 trailer came out. I was like, I didn't even say anything.
How many times do you think he sent that to Kells throughout the day that trailer came out?
Is not the question of the day.
Okay, so back on track. So we're talking about the fans, the way that they're perceiving the show and the way that they're responding, and I mean, we've seen it ever since the show began with how terrible, like immediately. Literally on the 3rd episode, we've already been like, worst show out there. Worst show Star Wars. Disney Star Wars is put out. Leslie Headland should not be writing this. We should have this instead. Like, this is not like this has been happening every single day since the show has come out, and it's just it's not sitting well with me to be able to go on social media and see people just tearing the show apart and calling it woke, which there's never been an instance of wokeness at all. Like, there's nothing about it that makes it that way. So, like, a lot of the things that these people are saying are it's just flavor text. It's just like something that they can say. I'm not trying to quote Qui-Gon. Like, the ability to speak doesn't make you intelligent. But
it started even before the episode dropped. Like 2 hours before, the episode was already rated at like a 3 on IMDb or wherever it was. And really, this is, I mean, to me, this has been going on since the show was announced and since Leslie was announced as the showrunner and the cast was announced. Like they've been lining up for 2 years now to write off the show before they ever saw a second of it, simply because of who was in charge and who was running it. And their arguments have no veracity to them, to use a $5 word. And I think, sorry, you said it earlier. There was all of these complaints about cortosis in episode 5, about it not being explained. And the very next episode, what was one of the first things we got? What cortosis is.
What's crazy to me is, and Leslie Headland all but said it in a recent interview when they asked her, like, were you aware that the Acolyte was being review bombed before it even came out? And she was like, yeah, we know that happens and we know that it's bullshit, because that's not what they're looking for when they're looking. How many shitty movies have like 6 sequels that came after them because it made money, because it got viewership? It doesn't have anything to do with if something is good or bad. Disney Plus is looking at the numbers. They're looking at if people are watching the show. They're looking at if their subscriber number goes up and they're making more money. And what's crazy to me, like, how you'll see comments on your videos on TikTok that'll be like, why do I keep seeing these videos of this bullshit, of this whatever? And it's like, because people like you're commenting on it, so it's going to show up on your fucking For You page, because that's the algorithm. Just like I just saw the Gladiator 2 trailer has more dislikes than likes. The algorithm doesn't give a fuck if you like it or dislike it. If you interact with it, it gives it more attention. So all these fucking grifters on YouTube who are talking about how woke the Acolyte is, how awful the Acolyte is. And this is probably part of the reason why, a little bit of a criticism for Lucasfilm, why Lucasfilm and Disney hasn't said anything outright about, like, don't be a bigot, don't be racist, because it's getting the show attention. Because it's press. And that's all of these people who are saying, oh, what? They're still watching it. They're still watching it to hate on it. And you're still giving it attention. You're still giving it numbers. And that's all that the fucking companies care about. And so we will get season 2 because of all the fucking assholes who are saying it's woke trash. And it's kind of beautiful.
Say that it's limited just to the assholes. We also have, I would say that like the question that's in the actual doc right here is like, is the fandom menace heating back up? And I would say that the Star Wars fandom in general is heating back up, because I can't remember the last time that all of us were as engaged with the Star Wars fandom as we presently are now. Like, obviously Podwans has covered everything, but I know that myself and a lot of our other friends and community members have gone into other things, or, you know, have focused their attention elsewhere, or just stopped making content, and now they're making content again, and we're all online. We're all watching these episodes when they drop, and we're all hopping online to talk about them immediately afterwards. And then we have things like the Yord Horde, and the community engagement specifically on Star Wars Twitter has really ramped up. And I think that this is just a very active time for Star Wars, and we haven't seen or felt that in quite a while. I would say this is the most active that the Star Wars fandom has been since we were all locked up in our houses during the pandemic, and we could not do anything but interact with other people online. And so, yes, everything Brooke said, we will get a season 2, but I think that, you know, while I do think a lot of the bigotry is worse this time around, I don't think it's just the fandom menace that is ramping up. I think that this is just a product of the Star Wars fandom as a whole ramping up. And we've also seen a lot of really wonderful things happen over the like the Yord Horde, like the, you know, I guess we'll talk about it in a second. There have been some crazy things happening in the fandom as well, but then we have some really good things, like, not to toot our own horn, but so many people showed up for the spelling bee. So many people showed up for the spelling bee and shared it and came and left a comment, or they donated. Like, I don't, Christopher.
God damn it, Chris.
Speaking of Brooke being a little spicy.
Merry Christophsis.
Oh my God.
But anyway, TLDR, I am inclined to think that we're just all more active, and that's why we're seeing more.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
But
Bless
yeah, I mean, yeah, Nick, any your thoughts about this fandom, about the show in particular? I mean,
time and time again, the arguments have been the same since the show has started. Time and time again, a bunch of people, you know, people here in this live stream, other people, other friends and mutuals in the community make videos pointing out the stupidity of these arguments, and they still come back and make the same thing. Jesse, the piece was disturbed a long time ago. We
have been causing chaos here for the past hour and 15 minutes.
Nick, we can't forget about Christmas the Grenade. Come on.
The Geneva suggestions live on. Anyways. Yeah, I think like that part of the fandom, and it's not constrained to just Star Wars. We've seen the same thing happen with Doctor Who. We saw the same thing happen with season 1 of The Rings of Power. There are always going to be people who don't like change to what they feel is their narrative to a given story or how they think it should go. And I think as much as possible, if it's stupid, ignore it. If it gets hurtful to people, as we saw, that's what Sawyer alluded to, and what the next question is on the document, I think we've seen the fandom come out in its best that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you want me to ask?
Yeah.
You want Brooke to be the one to discuss this next question?
I think Brooke should,
because Brooke did allude to it earlier that there was some Wikipedia drama that needs to be addressed.
I'll just say, let me just start by saying, if I had a nickel for every time that I was feeling spicy on Twitter and decided to call some bullshit out, I'd have 2 nickels.
Nice.
And
that's 10 cents.
Yeah, you're so right. The first one being the Star Wars Imagine video, and we don't have to talk about that because that is old news. But now the second one is, I had been talking to some friends behind the scenes, including Sawyer, who knew about kind of the issues that were going on with Wikipedia, and the transition of the previous admin was not quite as smooth or nice as the web page, the account would like everybody to believe. And then when I saw that they were going on a mass unfollowing spree, including unfollowing not only Sawyer and I, but also our podcasts page, in which 2 weeks ago, before that happened, we had just collaborated with Wikipedia on our Pride fundraiser. I was very disturbed. And I think a lot of people, well, there were some people, some assholes that were like, oh, boo-hoo, you got unfollowed by Wikipedia. And I'm like, bestie, it goes deeper than that. So anyway, I posted a tweet that got a lot of traction, and I said, really disappointing because Wikipedia in the last few years, their presence on social media, and I have praised the Star Wars, like the official Star Wars account, for also, I feel, helping bring the community together more because of its interaction with its fans. And, there's still criticism to be said because it is run by a corporation and you have to look at it through some sort of lens. They're doing it because ultimately they want to make more money. Right. But I do think that there are people that work behind the scenes that truly care about the community and care about the people that enjoy the work that they do. The same thing with Wikipedia, just on a smaller scale, right? It's not a huge corporation like Disney, but it is a mostly fan-run site that there's a lot of politics behind the scenes that we don't see. But anyway, so I posted about it, and I was like, this kind of sucks. And I'm seeing it was so nice to feel that sense of community from even just like a wiki page. It's like, yes, the Wikipedia is the keeper of the lore, but interacting with its fans, being more outspoken about inclusivity, which is so important in any community, to know that everyone is welcome, which is something that I think Star Wars still very much struggles with. So having at least one large account be very outspoken about that was really nice. And so things went out, got a little crazy because people were talking about how they were getting unfollowed. And then it started to come out more about the reason why this was happening. And even more stuff came out about the other people that are involved in the whole thing. And it's now, I think at least a lot of what I have seen is that a lot of people are kind of not happy with Wikipedia.
Yeah. Their response was pretty terrible.
Correct. Now, will we ever get the 100% truth from both parties? Of course not, because Wikipedia wants to protect their brand, and they're not going to, post DMs and screenshots because it's still like an official account, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think that their previous admin, who was, I would say, a victim in all of this, I would not want him to relive all of that just to prove anything. And he's already made his own statement about it. You can go find it on Twitter, and go follow Jordan because he's awesome.
Yeah.
But from my perspective, someone was getting harassed. Other people involved were getting harassed, and he decided to take a stand and speak on it. And he has, if you read his whole thread, he has admitted that, originally the death threats or things that he shared, he had not gotten consent from the person who had received those to post. But I think it's still an important message to know that this was happening, right? And so his heart was in the right place to be talking about it. And there is a subsect, I guess, of Wikipedia that thinks, no, we're just an encyclopedia. We don't need to be doing all of this. Basically saying we should just stay corporate, even though it's completely fan run and they don't make money from doing it.
Yeah.
which is so interesting to me that there are so many people who are like, oh, well, like, don't you? And I saw someone in the comments that was like, it's making our lives harder because, because of the Wikipedia page posting about this harassment. Now we have all of these admins or all these people who can come in and edit the wiki page, and they're bombarding us, and it's so hard to keep track and try to fix everything. And I'm like, okay, but there are actually like very real death threats towards a person that's being sent, and you're prioritizing your website over the mental well-being of someone else that you claimed was a friend, if not someone that is a part of your community. And that's the part that's like really fucked up to me, because their whole statement said serious misconduct. Serious misconduct to me would have been something like a crime.
Yeah.
Not posting some screenshots of a thing without someone's consent, or like posting happy birthday to a staff member and then realizing that they didn't want to do that anymore. I don't understand the language around it, and they turned off their responses on Twitter after posting the statement or the link to the statement, because they knew the kind of backlash that they would receive, and it's ridiculous to me. And I don't know. I've been talking for a long time, so y'all have thoughts.
Well, it's like also the fact that like the initial like statement also had like 300 quote tweets on it when I last checked. Maybe it's up higher now than what it originally was, but like again, I think collectively we all can agree that when the Wikipedia stuff kicked off and like everyone was going after these admins, and Jordan stepped up and was like, hey, this is not okay behavior in the fandom. We need to fucking address this. And then Jordan started getting like backlash for it. We all collectively as a fandom defended Jordan, I feel like, at that specific moment. And the fact that they use this opportunity with the theory harassment to out him over it is such bullshit, and it just seems like a personal conflict that happened between the two entities.
It's funny to me. It's like, let's think about what Wikipedia is. It's a website that keeps all of the lore and all of the important facts about Star Wars. What kind of people are interested in doing that? Probably the same kind of people who are criticizing Leslie Headland for not understanding Star Wars. So honestly, it doesn't surprise me that like, it's disappointing, but it's not totally surprising that there are a lot of people who are involved with the admin of Wikipedia who have completely opposite beliefs as the people that were defending Jordan and his harassment that he was receiving.
Yeah. And then, Nick, what are your thoughts on this? Because I know you have a lot of personal thoughts about this.
Well, I mean, I've been friends with Jordan for a while now, so I kind of, to an extent, watched this play out firsthand between him and Jace, his partner, and the impact that it had on him. I think it's absolutely, Brooke, you're right. It's fucked up that his first instinct is to defend the people that volunteer on that site, and they turn around and use that as a reason to get rid of him. Like, what kind of fucked up shit do you punish someone for protecting someone else? That still, I can't wrap my head around the logic in that. Wikipedia, Bookman was the first big Star Wars account to do any sort of heavy interaction with the community. Even before Swagman really started interacting with a lot of the community, Bookman was the first one, and that was all Jordan. And it made such a huge impact. I remember when I got the follow from it, I was excited because it was like, great, I've, at some level I've made it. Like there's that recognition to it. And I think a lot of people had that when he started following people using that account. There was that degree of like pride and celebration that you had gotten that follow, and for them to just suddenly decide to say that they're going to engage in the community, they're going to continue their engagement in the community, and their first step of that engagement is to unfollow pretty much everybody. And they didn't even follow their own guidelines. They said that they were going to stick to Star Wars affiliated or Lucasfilm affiliated accounts, and yet there are a lot of accounts there still that aren't affiliated, as far as I know, with Lucasfilm or Star Wars. I think some of the defense of their decision. And Brooke, I saw that same person in your comments, and I noticed that they've since gone private. I think they probably gave up that on defending something that they knew was indefensible or just got tired. Serious misconduct to me is not protecting someone. Like, that's serious conduct. That should be commended. And the fact that he was drubbed with it is just moronic to me, and I can't figure it out.
Yeah. And then I'm gonna kind of go down to Sawyer, because I know you also have like a personal connection with Jordan as well. So I kind of hear your thoughts on this if you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, like Nick, I was hearing about this from the inception of the issues, and Jordan first got this DM like right after the spelling bee, and so my first immediate concern was like, oh, were they upset with him for, on behalf of Wikipedia, partnering with a small podcast to do a Pride fundraiser? And if that was a problem for them, there are bigger issues at play. And I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not. To me, it seems like it was a smear campaign, that these people just did not like Jordan as a person, and instead of being civil and working with him because he's been a loyal contributor to the admin team for 14 years, they just decided to they tried to quietly out him, and I think if I'm being completely honest, I think they preyed on his insecurities because they figured they could get him to resign on his own. And it sucks. I mean, Nick and Brooke have already touched on most of what's wrong with this situation, but I think that while we're having these discussions about the fandom menace and the uptick in bigoted ideology coming from a certain part of the Star Wars fandom, and especially when we have Lucasfilm not saying anything in defense of their creators and their actors, and we're having a lot of conversations about creator responsibility, and while Wikipedia is not any one particular creator, because of their involvement in the community, it was so important that they acknowledged what was happening with the threats that were put against the editors of the site. And we don't see large accounts with that much following take a stance on these things as often as I would like to see that. And so, even just to have the Wikipedia account posting about the spelling bee, that was huge, right? Because, and we weren't just, this wasn't like some broad, Brooke and I chose a very specific charity that was, there is risk in, there were comments, I guess is what I'm trying to say, that were pointed towards the choice of charity. And it was a incredibly noble thing for Wikipedia, for Jordan, I should say, to say, yes, we will partner with you. We will post this loudly and proudly that we are in support of the trans community and the trans community members of the Star Wars fandom. That speaks volumes with the amount of followers that they have. And so to take that away and just say, it's just unfortunate, and people want to protect themselves. I get it. You can't be a creator in the Star Wars fandom or any fandom, to be honest. You can't be on the internet sharing your opinions and not be prepared for the absolute worst to be directed back at you. It's a very exposing thing to put yourself out on the internet, to have your face, your name, and your opinions all tied together in one nice public package. But I mean, just the good that does, if you're willing to put up with the bullshit, is far outweighs the negative. And so to have this reaction, and also I just want to say we didn't make a statement about it, but the fact that we called them out both Brooke calling them out and then calling them out on the Yapsesh account, they followed Yapsesh back because they didn't want to be seen as problematic in the sense that they did not support the spelling bee. And that, when we saw that, we were like, like, this is our post was not, oh, we missed your follow. It was, this is really telling about the kind of people that are running this organization. You're not who we thought you were. Yeah.
It's like you've opened Pandora's box. You can't reshut it and hide behind like the account of it.
And there's nothing, like that's not the kind of damage control that's going to be well received. And I could say the same thing about their response yesterday, where they turned off the comments. Like Chris said in the comments here, it was a total PR disaster. And yeah.
And then Char, I know you've kind of been quiet. Do you feel comfortable talking about this and like your opinions on it? Because I know you're not really much on Twitter, from what I gather.
Yeah, I'm not. I know that Jordan was supposed to be on the round table, the same week with the Kiadi Mundi? But he had the things happening, so he wasn't able to make it. But
because of this situation.
This is the first I've heard of it. This is the first I've heard about it, surprisingly. And this is eye-opening. I mean, if we're talking about people that stand for the right things and they're getting punished for it, it blows my mind that some people can have good intentions and have it not be enough. And especially in the name of a big corporation, not corporation, but a big brand like as Wikipedia. And I don't know. That sucks to hear. I mean, from what I've been hearing, Jordan is such a nice man. Like he is great from what I've been hearing from Luke, from Nick, from every single person that has told me about him. He has been nothing short of awesome. But yeah, we got to have him back on, or not back on, but we got to have him on here because I know that he was supposed to be on during the Kiadi Mundi debacle. Yeah. Which, I mean, that would have been quite the conversation to have with him, but unfortunately he wasn't able to make it. But yeah, we got to have him on here. I mean,
for sure.
Yeah.
This is
he's so knowledgeable and such a, he really is just a good guy, a good egg trying to make an impact, and he got dealt the shit end of the stick. It was so fun to have him as the judge in our spelling bee. He would interlude the different rounds with fun Wikipedia facts, either facts about the site itself or, like what's the most searched page this week. And it was a very welcome addition to our charity stream. And we will gladly have him back next year. As Jordan, not as Wookman, because we don't want to associate with that anymore.
Yeah. No, I think I just will say this. I think it's interesting now that they have decided with this new structure or this new way that they're going to run their socials that it is very like corporate in its thing. But like it's not run like a corporate, it's run by volunteers, it's run by Star Wars fans. As far as I know, there's not really a hierarchy, because when you work for a corporation, say you work for Walmart, just for example, if you are someone who has access to the Walmart Twitter and you go on there without any approval from any of your higher ups or anyone and just be like, I don't know, say something egregious or even that could be considered remotely political in any way. Like even anything about supporting LGBTQ plus or Pride Month or something. It doesn't matter what it is, actually. You post anything and it's not approved ahead of time by superiors, then I could understand them wanting to remove you from that position because you're not like following this hierarchical structure because of your position. That is not what Wikipedia is, right? You don't have like a CEO of Wikipedia or like a president of Wikipedia that is making these executive decisions, right? So the fact that Jordan was essentially ganged up on about these things because people, I'm sure, were talking behind the scenes, and then these two people talked to these two people, and then these two people talked to these two people, and then they all decided to host this whatever intervention and give him this ultimatum that he has, X amount of hours, and he was locked out of all of the accounts, as he said in his thread. It's just like there needs to be some sort of precedent, right? And other shitty things have happened in Wikipedia in the past that I don't think have been addressed in this same way.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and not only to remove him, but to ban him from the site entirely.
So stupid.
Like, he's not even allowed to get to Wikipedia anymore. Like, if you have your problems with him from an admin perspective and you want to remove him from that, that's one thing. But to treat him on the level of, to what Brooke alluded to, some of the other well-known, infamous people who have been editors on that site previous to Jordan, makes no sense to me. There's no comparison between the two.
And not only that, but as far as like the administration side of it goes, I was told that at any given point, 4 different people had access to those accounts. But Jordan was only the only one of those people who ever used them. And so I'm wondering, why was there not a discussion about, okay, we need to divide up the work that's happening on social media? Why were we just letting this one single guy handle every single social media platform for Wikipedia? Give him essentially free reign unless he does something somebody has a problem with, and not address it with the other 3 people who had access to those accounts.
He was basically set up to fail from the very start.
Yeah.
And also,
I was just gonna say, like, a lot of people have brought up the fact that there is an admin that has Zionist things on their profile, and it's like, just take out your feelings or stance on whatever is happening in Palestine. If they want to say that they are going forward where they're only a site about Star Wars and they're only going to post about Star Wars things, then there should be no political things anywhere on anyone's profile, right? Good or bad, or left or right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the things that they are saying are not matching up with what is actually happening. And that's what I think makes me really frustrated, because they are picking and choosing when to have an issue with something.
Right. And the thing I wanted to highlight of the whole situation is, man, shout out to the Peter Mayhew Foundation for hiring Jordan as soon as this happened. Like, the fact that they were able to pick him up and then immediately put him in charge or something, absolute shout out to them. Like, yes, it's shitty that this happened. Yes, it's terrible this happened. We're definitely talking about this. But like, I do want to kind of like give them like their congratulations, because it's like, that is an incredible thing that Jordan definitely deserves that position. Like, he's been nothing but incredible in this community. But
100%.
I feel like we've kind of been on this for a while. So
I mean, it is a very important thing to discuss, because the Star Wars fandom, day by day, and even like, it's just infighting.
Yeah,
it's literally hot D, but in terms of like social media and Star Wars fans, it's just people just fighting one another that both love the same thing. And then like the self-destructiveness that comes from it. I mean, like, man, some good people just get caught up in it, and they don't deserve it. And that's what happens. I mean, you can be like the nicest person out there, and then you just be like, hey, I like this thing. Comment. I hate you. Your opinion is so stupid. I think you shouldn't be on this app. Like,
but
everyone has that freedom. Everyone has that ability to be able to go on social media and say what they want. But a lot of the times, people are not very tolerant of what some people say, and without any good reason. I mean,
but again, like I said, like, I feel like we've been on this for a while. Sawyer, where can we find you on your social medias? And do you have any like one major prediction for the next episode?
Chimere and Osha ride off into the sunset.
Again, it's always a pleasure having you
Um,
on these episodes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, where can you find me? My name's right there. It's Sawyerism on every social media platform you could possibly imagine. But more importantly than that, please check out the Yap Sesh podcast. Brooke and I post every other Monday. We do the re-yap to cover the Acolyte, and where every Wednesday we post a new episode, usually at noon Eastern, sometimes later than that. But we're on Spotify and YouTube and all the other socials as well. And definitely check us out.
Yeah. And then, Brooke, do you have any major predictions for the finale? And also, where can we find you on the social media? Is there anything you're working on currently?
I really don't know. I think Osha's gonna find out the truth and say, "Fuck you guys, I'm going with my new boyfriend," and that's really all I got. I don't know. I think we're gonna see maybe this like Jedi inspection or audit, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That they kind of talked about in episode 6.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how it's all gonna. I don't know, because if the episode's only like 40 minutes long, I don't know how they're gonna do it. So, but that's why I am here and not in Leslie Headland's chair.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can also find me on Yap Sesh Pod. We've had some really cool guests on. We just had Molly Damon on from Stars Explained. We have a really nice, really interesting, really spicy, if you liked the content you saw tonight, about shipping with our friend Maggie. And then we have episodes coming up with Isabella Amidala and Jen Markham, and we're hopefully going to get some other cool people on there soon. So Yap Sesh is kind of most of the stuff that I'm working on some costumes, as you can see, for conventions, most notably New York Comic Con in October. So see y'all there. Yap Sesh is going to maybe have a panel. We're going to apply for a panel at least. But yeah, you can find me B Dazzler anywhere online.
Nikki Pooh, where can the good people find you?
Good people.
And what are your predictions for episode 8?
Good people can find me on Twitter and TikTok at NDWiseGuy. I like to talk about the High Republic and all of the fun that happens inside of that era of storytelling, including the Acolyte. And I'm here with you guys for at least one more week of live reactions and roundtable discussions for the Acolyte. As for my prediction, I think we're going to see a quick scene of whoever the Sith is. We've been told that there's going to be 2 Sith in this first season. I think we're going to see whoever that second one is. I don't think it's going to be Plagueis, and I'll laugh at Luke when that happens.
See, and that's how we find out that it's not Plagueis.
That's my prediction.
So you're telling me I read Plagueis for nothing? I'm kidding. Hereth, Mr. Primetime, where can the good people find you? And what do you think your prediction for episode 8 is going to be?
My prediction for episode 8 is going to be, it's been the same prediction I've had since episode 6. I think May is going to sacrifice herself to try to redeem Ocean. It's going to blow up in her face. I have this terrible sinking feeling that one of them is going to go. And I think May is more likely to die than Osha is at this point in time. But the good people can find me at Hereth Productions on TikTok and Instagram, Hereth_edits on Twitter. And of course, you could find me here at the Podwans Podcast for our Acolyte reactions, our Acolyte roundtable streams, and this next week coming up on House of the Dragon. And Char, I know you're very particular about how you could find the good people following you. So where can the good people follow you on the social medias?
And
is there another thing you want in your requirements?
My prediction for episode 8.
Oh yeah, what is your prediction? You Mr. Charlie man.
Well. So good people, you can find me on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at CharJS spelled right here, and you can find me here at the Podwans Podcast every Tuesday for our Acolyte reaction, and you can find us every Friday for our Acolyte Roundtable. And my prediction for episode 8 is going to be, I also think May is going to die, but I don't think it's going to be the same way that you think about it, Hereth. I think she will. I think something that Chimera is going to do. I think Chimera is going to have some unfinished business with May outing him. But that's just my thinking. I mean, I literally thought about this today. I'm like, in the grand scheme of everything that's happening in the Acolyte, I had this thought. I'm like, was this show like needed? Because depending on what happens in this finale, I'm like, I mean, I feel like that this show, like, the story's good, but what does it do for the overall story of what's leading into the prequels? We already know that the Jedi are a little bit. They've become not so much Jedi. They're gradually going into that. But I'm thinking, did we need this show after what happens this next episode?
But I guess that's the question for the reaction next week. Because
I'm thinking, I know that there was a lot of problems that the Jedi did, and then there was things that happened. But how do we get from point A to point B? Because we already know what point A is with the Jedi and Osha and May, but what's point B? Where is the finish going to go? How will this affect the overall story?
Mm-hmm.
So that's my thoughts.
Yeah. Well, again, I think that should be the wrap up. Char, you want to leave that?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to wrap us up. All right. So, thank you, Brooke. Thank you, Sawyer. Thank you, Yap Sesh, for coming on here to talk about Acolyte Episode 7 and ships and Soldara and a lot of drama that's been happening. Nick, always, thank you for coming on. I will be seeing you on Tuesday for our Acolyte reaction. Hope it's great. I have really high hopes for episode 8. I hope something really major happens that is going to push us forward into season 2. And then I think after this, when's Skeleton Crew coming out? What, November, December?
November, December.
We have no idea. Yeah.
Yeah, we really haven't heard much about it, but all I know is that it's coming this year. So,
and there's pictures of a Lego set somewhere.
Oh yeah, hell yeah! I need to build that thing right now. But thank you guys all for watching. If you haven't already, go ahead and leave a like on this video. Subscribe to our channel, and so you don't miss any future reactions, roundtables, videos, clips, whatever that may be. And leave a comment down below if you have not already in our live comment section. But we will see you guys next week for whatever happens in the finale of the Acolyte. So for Light and for Life, may the I'm not a Star Wars fan. I completely butchered that. For Light and for Life, we are all the Republic, and may the Force be with you always.
Always.
See you guys.